Welcome back. It's day 32 of learning to read Chinese, and our unit is 军事. This is military, battles, wars, whatever. Now this is the longest chapter in the entire course, so we're just gonna go 4 lines at a time. Gonna go up to here today. Starting with 宿. This 宿 means to stay overnight, a lodging station, a residence. Also refers to old or long-standing or experienced or former something other. But in this case, we are referring to lodging overnight. 宿 is for counting nights. So you would say, like, 住了一宿 if you stayed 1 overnight somewhere. And 宿, this is used with 星. It's called 星宿. Constellations, they're also called 星座. And more commonly, nowadays, you'll hear people say 星座, but they can also be called 星宿. It uses this character, and that's how you read it. But here, in the context of the military, we're talking about encampments. Ying. Ying is a barracks, a camp, encampment. It can also refer to a battalion in the army, or the headquarters, or to construct, operate, or run. So, like when you go camping for fun, and you build a tent, campfire, whatever, 露营 uses this. And for this, construct, operate, run, this is like 经营, for if you're running a business, you'd use 营业, so occupation, profession, job, like that. 扎, when you read it like this, means to prick, stick into. When you drive something, a poke something into something else. Be stationed, because you're kind of driving your tent poles, your stakes into the ground. Plunge into, get into. I've got other readings. 夹. 夹 means to move with difficulty because of physical weakness. You use this in the word 挣扎. And also 扎, which is a different consonant. This is 扎, this is 扎. When you're poking, you say 扎. When you're tie, bind, or fasten, plait, like in braids, roll up, or bundle, you call this 扎. Now here, 寨is a stockade, a camp, or a stockaded village. So a stockade being like when they drive wooden stakes or posts into the ground to make a barrier against attacks or confining animals. Stockade. So we use 扎 here because that plunging, driving the stakes into the ground when you station your troops for the encampment overnight. 宿营 扎 在. This is also the 宿 in 宿舍, which is like a dormitory. 枕 means pillow. It's got no other meanings. It's a pillow that you rest your head on at night when you sleep. And this is going to be the same in other words with similar readings, similar pronunciations, like with the 3 drops of water. Shen, it's a name. It's got wood on it because in ancient times the pillows used to be made out of wood. Like it's just something to rest your head on, so you keep your neck aligned, right, when you're lying down. So they used to be, if I can find a picture of one of those. Oh, these are the new kinds. Kind of like this. Yeah, this sort of deal. Wooden pillows. Nowadays we don't make them out of wood, but the character still has the wood radical in them. Because they used to be. Ge is a dagger axe. Is a weapon from ancient times. It can also refer to weapons in general or war. And this character is just an abstract rendering of that weapon. Originally kind of looked like that. Over time, sort of got abstracted into this. Cool. That means to wait for, or treat, or deal with, entertain, need. When you say wait for, deal with, entertain, this is also going to be like wait on, as in like when you wait tables or such. You'd also use this. Dai means to stay or hang around. If you're like staying after a party or staying over at your friend's house or whatever. Dai. Dan means dawn or daybreak, morning, day, the first day of the lunar month. So, if you look at this character, extremely straightforward. This horizontal line is the horizon, and this on top is the sun. It used to be drawn more circular, but over time it became square because pretty much everything became square. We don't have round circles in Chinese writing. That is also the name of female character roles in Chinese opera, which in old times used to be played by men because they didn't have women in the theater companies. But the female roles are called dan. In this case, we're talking about when you're camped out waiting for the dawn. Gang. Gang. This on the bottom is gang for the sound, and on the top it's a shen, it's a mountain. And that's for the meaning, because gang refers to the ridge of a hill or a sentry, because sentries are stationed at the tops of hills so they can see far away. Shao could refer to a whistle or a chirp, or in this context to a sentry, a lookout post, an army unit, patrol, reconnaissance people. So these together. Gangshao. Rong is, if you look at this character on the right, this piece is the same. This ge. It's little. It doesn't look exactly the same because it's a bit distorted to fit this other piece underneath. If you look here, the etymology. This is that weapon, that dagger axe, and this is a suit of armor. So we're referring to armaments in general, weapons, a chariot, warfare, any sort of war equipment, soldiers, etc. Jie means to warn or admonish. Could be a warning or commandments. Like the 10 Commandments from the Hebrew Bible are called Moshi Shijie, because it's Moses' 10 Commandments. Here we're talking about like the early warning from the sentries who are watching, keeping watch. Whenever somebody comes in, to give a report back and say, here comes such and such a person from wherever they're from, and they're bringing this and that, you know? That sort of thing. Kwa means to carry on the arm, wear over the shoulder, or at one's side. In this instance, what are we carrying? Right. I mean, an on is a stiff bristle of grass, like from barley or rye or whatever. That was the original meaning, as we also use it to refer to sharp weapons, which would be the meaning in this context of the military applications, or elite military troops. Crack troops is kind of an old-fashioned way of talking about them, like the most hard-hitting and well-trained soldiers. Or just in general, anything sharp, astute, so if you're talking about somebody's intellect, or somebody's wit, or the like, you could also use called 尖锐. Pi means to drape over the shoulder or turn over. So this is used in a lot of characters with similar sounds. The hand on the side just tells you that it's an action that you take with your hands. When you 披肩 would be like a shawl. Not this 肩. If you say 披肩 like a shawl, that's going to be 肩 like your shoulder. This 肩 means hard, solid, firm, secure, steadfast, stable, stubborn. It could also be any sort of firm object. Stronghold, solidify, insistently. So here we're talking about like a stronghold, I guess. Your bearing arms, your sharp weapons that you carry, and the hard armor that you put on. That sort of idea. 帅 refers to the military rank of the commander-in-chief or the local leader. In Chinese chess, the chief piece is also called 帅. So I guess kind of like the king, but in this case it's the commander-in-chief. Leader, command, lead, follow. 帅. We also use this a lot when talking about people to say handsome or graceful. So a person is handsome, like a handsome guy. You'd call him 帅哥. Graceful is more for like movements, or like if someone is highly skilled and displaying grace in a skillful action, you could say 帅. 旗 is a flag, banner, or pennant. And back in the day, they used to be vertical like this. You'd hold it up high when you're going into battle. 挺 means to straighten or stick out part of the body. Oftentimes like 挺胸 it's like puff out your chest. Protrude, sustain, advance, outstanding, stiff, like when you starch the collar of a shirt and it stands up straight and stiff. You'd use 挺. Very. Is it very? I don't know. This, I guess you call it very because the intensity level is not exactly aligned in Chinese and in English. Especially Americans tend to be very liberal with their intensifiers. So we might say something is great when Chinese people would only say 挺好, which if you translated it literally 挺, I think would be more like rather. But if you said rather good in English, it's not going to be as good as if a Chinese person says 挺好. Ba. You got fa on the side for the sound. You got this. This is an action that you take with your hand. Ba means pull out or pull up. It can also mean promote, stand out, rise high, or draw out. So in this case, 挺ba is a word. So you ever heard people saying for good posture, you want to imagine that there's like a string being pulled from the top of your head, right? Pulled up. That's what this ba would be like for 挺拔. 帅气挺拔. We're talking about holding that flag, holding that banner up straight, high, waving it proudly. 训. 训 means to instruct, teach, lecture, train, tame, code. Okay, so up to these are words. Instruct, teach, lecture, train, tame. Code or rule, words, commentary, caption. These are nouns. So this is the 训 that you would use in words like 训练 for practicing, or 教训 for instructions. 是 has a variety of meanings. In this context, we're talking about the soldiers in the military. This is also the name of a social stratum in ancient China. It's like a subcategory of the ruling class. Referred to scholars or bachelors. These are kind of all names of a type or group of people in old society, so not really used anymore, but we do still use it as kind of like an honorific. Soldiers, we call them 士兵, so this is pretty common still for that purpose. 帅, different one. 帅, this one means model, example, leader. If you used it in the word 比较帅. And it could mean lead or command. If you say 率领, that's going to be rash or cursory is 轻率. Straightforward, frank, you could say 直率 or 率真. If you say someone's like, someone is so real, like no airs, you could say 率真. This has got another reading. 率, and this 率 means rate, proportion, or ratio. So you'd say like 税率 for the tax rate, 利率 for the interest rate, that sort of thing. 演 means to drill, practice, perform. If you're talking about evolve, this is like evolution of organisms. 演变, you could say. But this is going to be the 演, perform for like the theater or music. 演唱会 is like a vocalist's concert. 演习 is what you would call 演习, like practice. Military drills would be called 演习. 演出 演讲 if you give a lecture or make a speech. 演示 is demonstrate. So all these kinds of things. 盘. Hold on. We just got through another 4. So here, 训, 是, 帅, 演. We're talking about how the commanders, the leaders, direct the troops in their drills and practices. 盘. It's got a big rock on the bottom here. 石. This on the top is 班. It's for the sound. 盘 is a monolith or a huge rock, a boulder. Using this just to mean huge, this is kind of a literary usage you're not going to see very often. Most of the time, you'll see like 磐石 for boulders. 据 means to occupy. This is the same 据 that you see a lot. Other characters, similar sound. This is 足, it's for feet. Because originally 据 had the meaning of squatting down or sitting down. We use it now mostly just for military occupations. But if you think about the way that the troops will stand when they lay siege, everyone's kind of squatted down in the trenches, sort of deal. 较 means to compare, check, or compare with. So this is the 较 in 比较. Here, 比较, very common word, which you could use either for making a comparison or to say relatively. Like if you say something is relatively good, you'd say 比较好. 静. This means strength, energy, spirit, vigor, drive, or zeal. Let's see this in words such as 尽力. But if you say this 尽力 refers to strength or force, because they both kind of mean the same thing. Whereas if you've heard 尽力 used to mean, there's another 尽, which when you use that, it means something totally different. This one. This 尽, it sounds the same, but it means empty or exhaust. So when you say 尽力 with this 尽, it means to use up all your energy. Like you try your hardest, and there's nothing left in you afterwards. Whereas this 尽 refers to strength or energy. So when you say 尽力 with this 尽, you're just referring to strength or force. 尽头. Zeal, strength, energy. Like, how much energy do you have to do something? 静 with the 后鼻音, the one that goes in the back of your throat. 静 means strong or vigorous as an adjective. So this is a noun. And the other one that looks different is a verb. And this one, 静, is an adjective, meaning strong or vigorous. So here you got like 劲吹, 劲敌, strong opponent, 劲风 for a gale, force, wind, 劲烈, strong, violent, all these kinds of things. So here, in this context, it is a noun, and we're talking about 较劲. A battle of supremacy. Whoever's got more power. And I guess you're camped out occupying the periphery behind the rocks and boulders or something like that. 情. This, I think, on the top is 静 for the sound. On the bottom, you got a hand, 手. And the hand is on the bottom because this 情 means to lift up, prop up, bear, support, or hold. So your hand is underneath, lifting it up or supporting it from beneath. 志 is another word for 旗子, another word for a banner or flag. 呼 means to exhale, breathe out, cry out, or call. It's got a mouth on the side, indicating that it's a noise that you make with your mouth. 喊, same thing. Mouth on the side. This is 敢 for the sound. Shout, call out, or cry. So 呼喊 together obviously means you're yelling and shouting. You raise the flag high and you yell and shout, as they did in the old days when everybody got in formation and their military array, their armor and the shields and the spears and the flags and the horses or whatever. You just stand there and scream at each other, which is not really the way that war is done anymore, but back in the day, that's how it was done. So that's 情志呼喊. So we are just going to do 32 characters every day, 4 lines, and we'll get through this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe about 6 days. I could do an extra line on 1 or 2 of those days, but this will take a while, but we will get through it. See you next time.